year's games and then waited a year to prepare again and continue to train themselves and to hold off, make those sacrifices in their lives for this opportunity. Some of them, opportunity lost. Sorry, can't go. We're not going to have one this time around. Spectators are obviously an important part of sports, but not having spectators in competition, it's not a necessity. Sure, it's a necessity for the business. You're going to lose millions. Of course you are. But for the athletes, they lose a lot more. They lose part of their lives. They lose something they've been working for some of them almost their entire lives. Think about it. So no, canceling the games, to me, what you're doing then is you're walking away from what the games are all about, what the games are originated from. Competition, who's the best in the world. People will be watching on TV. In fact, probably a lot more people will be watching on TV. But to not have the competition, then you take away the spirit of the games. Don't do it.
I guess what side am I on, Ross? Who am I? Am I the Olympic Committee, the city of Tokyo? Am I an athlete? Like, where am I at? Because when I look at it, let's assume that I am part of the city and it's a investment. And the reason you bid on these things is to bring revenue to countries, cities, states, things of that nature. Money is generated. There's an investment that goes into it. There's an infrastructure. There's hotels. There's ticket sales. There's all of those sort of things. So if it was me, based on those sort of things, I certainly would try and halt everything, stop it, figure out if we can rebid again for a third time and come back around 3 years from now to do it. Because I can't think about the athletes if I'm Tokyo, if I'm the Olympic Committee that's spending money. I can't think about the athletes. I got to think about stopping the bleeding of monies that's being spent and not a significant return. Now, if I'm the athlete, I want to compete. I want to go ahead. I'm here already. I'm ready to go. I've trained all year, 2 years basically, I've trained to compete. How does that affect by not having fans in the stands? Some athletes, in particular track and field, they get energized off the crowd, the noise, the fans, the woo coming down the 100-meter dash at the last 20 meters, that noise, that feel, that vibe. They're not in there. So what would it look like? What is it going to truly feel like? I've never competed in the Olympics, but I competed at a high level of all sports. So I know what the fan base does for me in that energy, especially in individual sports. So if I'm an athlete, I want to keep going. If I'm the city, the committee, people that have money at stake for this, I want to stop it so I can stop the bleeding.
Yeah, the money part is going to be the thing that gets in the way, right? They already had capacity capped at a lot of these venues. They weren't going to let international spectators come in as it is. They've already had limited a lot of things. The other concern you could add to this, I think against my impassioned plea for athletes, is to protect the athletes. Who's to say that they're in the Olympic Village or whatever bubble they create for the athletes? You get one positive, shut it down. Right? And then how much money do you really lose if you do then have to deal with that, where you have to shut it down or even shut down an entire, like this sport, we're not going to play now. Take this sport now out of the Olympics. We start adding the asterisks. So, look, as we've been learning over the last 18 months, we haven't experienced this. We don't know what we're doing through a pandemic. We learn as we go.
Yes.
But I just feel like if there was some other way, it's so close to the games, that's the frustrating part. Because what you could say is, instead of having the Olympics all in one place, let's do the basketball competition like in the U.S. Let's do swimming, in Brazil or places where the virus isn't as impactful as it's being right now in Japan. That's the only thing I'm thinking of is, can we find a way to hold the games and the competition without having it in the all one place setup that the Olympics typically are?
But that becomes problematic as well.
Oh, now, of course it is.
Now,
venues and everything else not available.
You've got to try to figure out how to place everybody, where everybody goes, if there's enough hotel rooms, practice facilities. It's just
logistically impossible.
It's almost impossible, especially.
But if we had more time
frame.
If this was the decision you'd made in, earlier, like in the spring, you got a couple of months to kind of, put something together.
But a couple weeks, I don't see it happening in a couple weeks.
No chance.
I personally immediately think about the athletes who have been training and perhaps, 3 years from now could age out, or this could be their last shot at competing.
Well, I've been sacrificing all these things in my life. I want to start my life. I can't just keep waiting for Olympic competition. I lose it now.
On the other side, though, like, you're willing to take this risk to make it happen. You feel for the athletes, but it's only okay until you're in the Olympic Village, until there's an outbreak. It's only okay until someone gets COVID, but they come back, or if someone gets COVID and they really get sick, or if somebody dies, and the most elite athletes in the whole world are there.
Could you not
imagine?
push it off for one more year? Could you not do it, postpone it for
Get the
one
winter
I mean,
games.
Keyshawn, at this point, it's like a global pandemic actually happened to planet Earth. We as
literally.
humans might need to humble ourselves a little bit and
it's-
let this
but
thing
you
go.
know, you know, it's sports. You know how people are about sports. They'll figure out any way to get it in. Rain, snow, pandemic, whatever. Think about what we just went through. Game's on. Nobody in the stadiums. We don't care. We're going to play. They'll figure out how to get it done because that's what we're built on. We're built on sports. We like that sort of events. We want to embrace. They figured out in the NBA. Oh, we'll go down to Orlando.
Orlando.
We'll put a bubble. We'll still get our championship game in.
Right.
No matter what anybody says.
And that would have to happen until you'd have to have a bubble situation.
We
The
had
athletes
empty
want that.
stadiums for football just to play the game
That's what
to
I'm
get to the
saying.
Super Bowl.
We're
We
digital
pulled it
fans.
off, but
Thank
you know,
goodness
it
for
took a lot.
technology. I mean, it's crazy. We'll look back in history and say, boy, it was important we got those
Sometime,
games in.
yeah. right. It's a good thing we got that Super Bowl.
Right. Anyway, let's wrap this up and take a break. We're going to go back to some basketball outside of the bubble. It's in Phoenix. They're going crazy. If you're a Phoenix fan, your team is up 2-0 in the finals. And if you want even more to be